Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for January 18th. January 18th is the 18th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 347 days remaining to the end of the year, 348 in leap years. Today's word is trudge. Trudge can be a noun or a verb. As a verb, according to Merriam-Webster, trudge means to walk or march, usually laboriously. As a noun, trudge means a long, tiring walk. I heard someone describe trudge as a slow walk, or to walk with purpose. Trudge is likely of Scandinavian origin, from a word having to do with snowshoes. First known use of the word trudge as a verb is in 1547 and as a noun in 1835. Trudge. And with that, let's go back to the 1700s, when a group of ships known as the First Fleet set out from England. This was a fleet of 11 ships, and they were bringing the first European settlers to Australia. This fleet, under the command of Captain Arthur Phillip, was composed of 2 Royal Navy vessels, 3 store ships, and 6 convict transports, over 1,400 people in all. They would travel 24,000 kilometers, 15,000 miles, and take over 250 days to eventually arrive in Botany Bay, New South Wales, where it was planned that a penal colony would become the first European settlement in Australia. And so it is that the first elements of the First Fleet, carrying 736 convicts from Great Britain to Australia, arrived at Botany Bay on January 18, 1788. Still in Australia, but a grandfather's age later, Wesley College was established in Melbourne, Australia on January 18, 1866. An X-ray generating machine was exhibited for the first time by a man named Henry Louis Smith on January 18, 1896. In July of 1976, the annual Legionnaires Convention took place in Philadelphia. There were more than 2,000 people in attendance, mostly men. 3 days after the convention ended, some of those men began dying of what at first appeared to be heart attacks. They all complained of feeling really tired, chest pain, congested lungs. Of a total of 182 cases, 149 had been convention attendees, and 33 were people who either worked at the hotel or had been in the area. The victims ranged in age from 39 to 82. In a week's time, 130 people, mostly men, had been hospitalized. 25 had died. Before it was all over, more than 200 people would fall ill, and 34 would die, a little over a 15% fatality rate. Turned out to be a pathogenic bacteria that proliferates in certain watery conditions. In this case, the bacteria had become established in water associated with the hotel's air conditioning unit on the roof of the building. The contaminated water would vaporize and fall to the ground, where people on the street breathed it in and became infected. It was certainly alarming that so many people were affected, and with that 15+% death rate, medical experts and researchers were hot to find answers. As I mentioned, that convention was in July of 1976, and on January 18, 1977, the causative agent was identified as a previously unknown bacterium, which they named Legionella after the Legionnaires. Since then, dozens of species of Legionella bacteria have been identified. It's nearly always distributed by concentrated water contamination. It was particularly virulent in the Legionnaire's case because the water was made into a vapor form and people breathed it in. Today's song is Running Bear by Johnny Preston. It was written by Giles Perry Richardson, also known as the Big Bopper. Recorded and released in 1959, Running Bear is a song about a tragic pair of teenagers who were in love but stymied by an intractable feud between their respective tribes, and also a geographic separation in the form of a raging river. Running Bear by Johnny Preston hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 January 18th, 1960, for the first of 3 weeks. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with the link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include the link to my blog page that is called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. January 2nd. Do that one again. There's a little birdie on my front porch. Don't know if you can see this little rainbow up on the wall behind me. I have a crystal, a faceted crystal hanging in my window, and the sun has moved around so that it's sending rainbows into the room, flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work.